Welcome back to the Science of CBD. I'm Bruno, Professor of Nutraceutical Science at Huntington University of Health Sciences, formulator of Twinlab products, and your host. In today's podcast, I'm going to give you some takeaways from the FDA's public meeting on CBD, which took place on May 31st, 2019. And it included, if you can believe it, 10 hours of testimony about CBD from more than 100 stakeholders. So, the meeting started with the acting FDA commissioner, Ned Sharpless. And this was a kind of a historic first-time ever public hearing on CBD. And he noted that, quote, "We've seen an explosion of interest in products, including CBD, but there is much we don't know," which kind of set the whole tone. Now, here's the takeaway points. There's a few. I think one of the main ones is essentially there's just too many cruddy CBD products on the market. The market is really flooded with, sketchy players, if you will, selling, not very good CBD products. Some of the stakeholders would show laboratory data on different CBD products. You had some that, for example, that said, it contained 300 milligrams of CBD when it actually contained 22 milligrams, or no CBD whatsoever. What happens is, because CBD is so popular, you get a lot of players coming into the market, selling their products, and, just not doing it the right way. You have manufacturers who are good, and they're utilizing very top shelf extraction processes and good manufacturing practices and testing that has to be done. Now, if you're not doing all that, you can buy cheap material, you can package it, and you can sell it cheaply, or at least cheaper, and make a lot of money. It's just that in that case, you're giving a consumer a very, to be kind, suboptimal product. But there will be a reckoning eventually, and the FDA is going to end up going after these bad players. Meanwhile, there's a lot of junk on the market. Another big point was, which kind of relates to the first point, is consumers just don't have any way of knowing what is a legitimate CBD product and what is not. Many of us in the industry who know about these products, we see new ones all the time, and we don't even know which ones are good and which ones aren't. And so it's very important, never more than now is caveat emptor, buyer beware, the watchword when you're a consumer buying CBD products. Buy the products from companies you know and trust, because there's so many out there and you just don't know what you're getting. Now, another big takeaway point, surprisingly, or maybe to some of you it's not a surprise, is that many people still don't really know what CBD is. They confuse it with other cannabinoids. During the meeting, you had different people come up talking and just discussing the evils of marijuana, which is not what CBD is, but yet they were talking about it as though that's what it is. You had one different parents that come up and were talking about, really sad stuff with a child that spiraled out of control on, high cannabis with high levels of THC. But that's not CBD. It had nothing to do with CBD. So the issue, again, is people seem to have confusion. To be clear, folks, CBD is not marijuana. It's not THC, the psychoactive component in marijuana. It has no psychoactive activity. But nevertheless, a lot of people don't seem to understand that. Another big major point is that the FDA has serious concerns about potential side effects of CBD. Now, to be clear, that's not necessarily because there's all this data showing that there's horrible side effects associated with CBD. Mostly, it's their job to make sure things, products that people taking are safe. And, they need to see that research is supporting that. And, one of the things that's come up, even independent of this, is discussions I've heard where some people, I've heard them saying, CBD can be hepatotoxic, meaning toxic to the liver. And all of that is based on one mouse study in which they gave very large amounts of CBD to the mice and found it to have some toxic effect on the liver. How large of the amount? Well, they gave up to 2,450 milligrams of CBD per kilogram of body weight. So, this was an enormous amount. That would be an enormous amount for a human being to take at one sitting, let alone a mouse per kilogram of body weight. So it's just kind of a crazy amount. And the funny thing is, there's also studies that have been published showing that CBD actually has helped to protect against hepatotoxicity with things such as cadmium, which is a heavy metal, acetaminophen, which is basically Tylenol, and cocaine. It actually helped protect against hepatotoxicity. So, the FDA certainly should be concerned about the safety of all dietary supplement ingredients, all drugs, all foods, etc. But it's certainly an area of concern, and perhaps more research will help them to feel a little bit better about it. The other thing is that I'd say the last really big point is that anecdotal evidence is not something that the FDA considers to be a legitimate way to substantiate claims. Look, a lot of people have used CBD, and a lot of people have gotten very good results. At the meeting, you had people, veterans, you had people with various disease conditions, you had people, family, friends, relatives, talking about how CBD made a huge difference in the life of them or their friends or family. And, that's really something, and that's really significant, and that's even helped to change some laws. But that doesn't work with the FDA. The FDA says it's got to be science. It can't be people giving me testimonials saying this stuff works great. So again, there is research on CBD, but the FDA's position is there needs to be a whole lot more for them to feel comfortable with CBD. So I would say that overall, the two biggest overall points is that, the American public has a very high desire for CBD products, and that there are too many CBD manufacturers that are delivering really, crappy products overall. So that's some of the highlights of that meeting. Perhaps we'll do another one of these sessions to discuss a little more details. But meanwhile, that's it. So thank you for joining us for another episode of The Science of CBD. And I hope you've learned something or enjoyed it. And if you do, you go to the website, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And for more information about CBD, phytocannabinoids, hemp, visit our website at twinlabcbd.com and sign up for our newsletter. Thank you.